Before we graph lines, I want to just review, and I'm sorry if this bores you because it's so easy, but this will be a good little, we'll even test on this little review unit, get you started with a good grade. Before we graph lines, let's talk about graphing a point. If I asked you to graph something like 2, 3, what do you do? Right 2, up 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is 2, 3. So your first coordinate is x. Here's your x-axis, and your second is y. Easy peasy. How about -1, -2? Left and down. That's right. So left 1, down 2. I was bragging on y'all yesterday because I said y'all had all the answers. I didn't spend near as long as what I normally would solving equations. So I hope everybody's good. Y'all are doing the same here. If you don't, raise your hand, stop me, and let me explain it some more, okay? All right. Well, if y'all can do points, let's move on to lines then. I'm going to show you 3 different forms we graph in, okay? The first form is probably the one you're most familiar with. What do you call this? Slope what? Intercept. Slope intercept. And it's called slope intercept because it gives you the slope and the intercept. What's an intercept? Y-axis. It's the Y-intercept. It's B, and it's where it crosses the Y-axis. Tell me a little bit more about slope. What does slope do? How would you describe slope? Kind of. Elaborate on that a little bit more. It's kind of like an angle, the steepness of the line, okay? The rise over run. Very good. The rise over run. So when we talk about steepness, we're talking about if it goes up like this, or maybe it's even steeper, it has a bigger slope, okay? So rise over run. If I had a slope of, let's say I had a slope of 2/3. From any point on the line, that means I do what? How do I apply that slope? You go up 2 and over 3. Okay? So just as a note so that you remember, positive slope always goes up and then right. And negative slope, come on now. Negative slope goes down, but it still goes right. And I'll give y'all just, when we graph, and it's in slope intercept form. Let's say I have y equals, we'll use that same 2/3 x plus 1. What is my slope here? 2/3, 2 over 3. And what is my y-intercept? 1. So we said this is rise over run. This means that I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 3. So when you graph this, you've got a slope and you've got a y-intercept. What should you do first? What should you graph first? The y-intercept, because then you're going to use the slope for the next point. So I'm going to put you a little step here. I'm going to say plot the y-intercept. Okay? Because you need kind of a starting point. So we said the y-intercept was 1, so I'm going to put a point right here. Now apply your slope. Two-thirds slope means go up 2, 1, 2, and over how many? Yep, 3. Up 2 over 3. Positive slope should always look like an uphill. Negative slope should look like a downhill. Let's do one with a negative slope and see what happens. Let's do negative 1/3 x. Let's leave it like that. Something's missing. What's missing? The y-intercept. If it's missing, what does that mean? There's nothing there. What is nothing in math? 0. So that means my y-intercept is 0. My slope. So negative 1/3 means I'm going to do what? Down and right. You're exactly right. All right. Start at the y-intercept. So here's 0, yes? So David says down and right. Down 1. Right 1, 2, 3. Now it's a negative slope, so it should look like downhill, right? Let's connect them and make sure. And it does. Questions about slope-intercept form? We okay? Y'all ready to move to standard form? Okay, tell me. Standard form. How many of you remember standard form? Yeah? Standard form does not look like that. Looks like this. We got the x and the y on the same side and a number on the other. Do y'all remember this? So I always taught my kids cover up with standard form. No? Yes? Maybe? No. Okay. So what happens with the slope-intercept form? We have a slope and an intercept. With this form, we're going to find the two intercepts and graph them. Okay. So to find an intercept, to find an x-intercept, what we do is we plug in 0 for y. Okay, that's going to tell us where it crosses the x-axis. So then in the same thought, to find the y-intercept, what do you think we're going to plug in? Yep, absolutely. Then we're going to plug in x equals 0. Okay? And those are going to tell us the two, and because we only need 2 points to graph a line, those are going to give us the 2 points that we're going to connect. Okay? Now, the reason I say cover up is if you think about it, if you put a 0 in for y right here, anything times 0 is what? 0. That's going to go away. So you'll have ax equals c. And if I put a 0 in for x, it's going to make this go away, and I'll have by equals c. Okay, and that'll give me my 2 points. So let me show you an example. Let me let you copy that down first. Let's say I have 2x minus 4y equals 12. And I want to graph that. First thing I want to do is find the x-intercept. And remember, when we do that, we plug 0 in for what? For y. So that means 2x equals 12. Does everybody agree with that? How do you solve that for x? Divide by 2? what do you get? 6. Now you're not finding a point here, like you're not finding the x part of a point and then the y part of the point. You're finding where it crosses the axis. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does that make sense? So now let's find, you fixing to fall asleep. You look awful tired. Now let's find the y-intercept. David's still awake back there. Look at him. I'm almost done too. You almost made it through the whole lesson. Y-intercept. I'm going to put a 0 in for x. So when x is 0, I'm going to cover up that part and have negative 4y equals 12. So if negative 4y is 12, what is y? Come on, guys. Y'all can get this. Negative 3. Good job. That's on the y-axis. Now I have 2 points, and now I can connect those 2 points. What if I have 0 equals 2x minus y? This one's a little bit harder. This one's kind of tricky. It's in standard form. So in standard form, I want to do cover up, right? But when you find the intercept, so if I find the x-intercept, what is it? What is the x-intercept? Somebody said it. 0. Well, in this case, the x-intercept and the y-intercept is the same. They're both 0. So I'm going to have to fix this equation a little bit so I can find out the slope. How could I move this around to easily find the slope? Yes. Move the y over with the 0. 0 plus y is y. Now what's the slope? 2. So what do I do? How do I do a slope of 2? 2 over 1, which means go up 2 over 1. And I'm done. Does that make sense? Some of you, I don't know. Y'all okay? You get it? It's just work.